It's that time again where I try to explain some flint knapping concepts with words. In this episode, we're going to discuss mainly bifaces. Since I received a very good question recently, I'm going to go over it in a little bit of detail as best I can in just a few minutes. Okay, so let's just look at start from the beginning. Excuse me. We have a rock. Okay. Now rocks, bad and good. Very simple. Good is nappable, and for us flint nappers, bad is anything that we can't nap. So those are bad rocks. Good, nappable. Okay, from here we have different kinds of rocks, but basically we have what we call tabs and nodules, right? And this is usually tabular. Tabs is short for tabular. And this is a raw state where you have, rocks that are relatively flat. If you slice them, they're going to have a thin cross section, relatively speaking, as opposed to slicing a nodule, which is going to be thick or rounded or whatever. And this is thin. Okay? Now, from my experience, the vast majority of the rocks that we nap are nodules. Okay. So from here, we have various choices on what we do with the nodule. If we hit it and knock off a piece, and it looks like this, and this is the side view, and this is the side. If we turn it so we see the inside here, let's just pretend it looks like that. And this is going to be the inside. And this is nice, bright, and shiny. Okay, this is called a spall. Knock a piece off. It looks like you can make something out of it. It's called a spall. Technically, it is a type of flake. Okay. Now, there's another type that you can get. Once you knock off this part, this becomes this. Okay, use your imagination. This is the clean area. Right? You can start knocking off flakes in this direction. Flip it over a little bit. And you have what they call a core. As soon as you start knocking off flakes, these are a type of flakes going to be knocked off. They're called blades. If I can spell it. Blades. So we have spalls, which are odd. I'm just going to make it general term. Use a general term. These are odd shaped. Blades are more regular, namely 2 times longer than width in general, but this is the rule: 2 times longer than width for a blade. Still a type of flake. We have our friend. Still a type of flake, but it's a different technology and different use. Everything is different. uh, for us. It may not look different to other people, but to us, there's big differences. Okay, so we have spalls. I don't talk much about this side, so we'll leave this to its own little world. Where you going, Kevin? People want to see you. Yeah, I had my video voice going, so he takes off. Let's see. Yeah, I can't zoom out anymore. It's getting cold out, but he's got plenty of fur, so he's outside all the time. Right, Kevin? Right, buddy? He just got done eating dinner. So now he's got nothing else to do except bug me. That's all you're going to do today? You're going to bug me? Yeah. Your feet are kind of cold. It was 47 degrees last time I checked, which is a big change from 87 degrees that I think it was yesterday or the day before. Okay. I'm dropping everything, so I'm going to have to put this on pause here. Well, maybe not. Okay. All right, so where was I? We're going to skip the blades. Okay, so from here, the spall is usually napped into a biface. We strike in different areas along the edges to remove lumps and eventually make it more regular from the side view. This is called lenticular biface. There are many types of bifaces in the cross section. Okay, now from here, the biface, once it reaches lenticular shape, or it could also be like this, which is called plano convex. This is a cross section, remember. And there's flattened. I don't know if that's got two T's in it or not. Flattened cross section when it's got two plano sides or flat sides. It's called flattened. All right. So these are the main ones that I can think of. There's some other ones too. Let's just do the other one. Sometimes you have this effect where you have a concavity in the middle. I call that furrowed. This may not be used in the archaeological texts. I don't think it is. I call that furrowed when it's got a little furrow in a concavity in the middle where they're hitting in diving flakes. Okay, so from here, the bifaces can be categorized in different ways. Okay, the bifaces can be called trade blanks, or just plain old blanks, or just plain old bifaces. All right, what's the difference between these? Physically, he's doing tricks now for attention. Physically, they look identical. These three look identical. He's got his paw on my notebook. They all look the same. The difference is in the uses. A blank is the beginning of beginning of I don't want to keep using big words here, or I don't want to use any big words. I want to keep using small words, but I'm going to have to go to a bigger word. Trajectory. We have something called a trajectory in flint knapping, which means just like in a rocket when it starts taking off into space or whatever, it starts on this trajectory. Well, same with blanks. It's a rocket. It's starting its trajectory into a tool. All right. These don't have any trajectory yet. They could stay this way forever. Trade blanks, they could just be traded back and forth and never used. Bifaces could be just sitting there in a stash and never used. All right. A blank is the beginning of a trajectory. So when we get to this stage, we start knapping it more and refine it and start hitting thinning flakes on it and refinement on the edges and all that. All right. We're getting into let's see if there's a transition point. We're getting into a more refined biface. Okay, and these can take different trajectories. They can become a preform or a tool. This can become a tool with more refined edges, and then stop here. It just stops there. Like this could be a sawing tool or a tool used for scraping hides. As long as the appropriate cross-section is achieved and the appropriate edge quality is achieved on this particular blank with more refinement, it can stop right here as a tool. Or it can be a preform. So a preform is intended for a certain type. Okay, the flint knapper already knows what he's going to make out of this more refined biface, and we call it a preform. Okay, now preforms can take various shapes. Basic shapes are a 3, I would think. Let's see. Okay. Depending on the refinement of the blade or stem. Okay. Now this might be the finished product here. This might be finished here. It might stop right there, and this is a knife or a scraper or something. This is more refined than this tool up here. This is more crude than this one down here. This one is usually characterized by being much thinner. Okay. Folsoms, in the Folsom collections, you have something called a ultra thin biface as an example. The ultra thin biface is an example of this stage here, and it stops right there. Okay, this one has a blade refinement. I know it doesn't show it. Okay, and the base is all kind of wonky, but this one has a stem refinement. Now these are all these are still categorized as preforms. Here. This can get confusing, right? But these are still preforms here in this stage. Most knappers call these preforms still, because I would say, greater than 60% is not finished. Now the 60% is arbitrary. I just picked that myself. I don't know those percentages, but for me, 60% unfinished is still a preform if you know what it's intended to be. All right. Up here for a biface, when you spall it and then you biface it, it's 60% worked or flaked. Flaked. Okay. So there we go, all the way down here. Now from here, this becomes, with more napping, the bright, shiny new stage 1. Stage 1 point. Finished. There's a lot of work between here, right? But I'm just going to skip all this work in between because we don't really categorize all this stuff in here. It's either a preform or it's finished. There's, in this category, we're going to sneak in broken in manufacture. Okay, we'll sneak that in there. Broken in manufacture. A lot of these pieces I'm going to be showing, a lot of the artifacts, they stop being something right here. They're broken in manufacture and discarded. All right, so snapiola pudding, snap the crap, and it's discarded, and it stops its life right there. Okay, we sneak that in there. Okay, finished. Stage 1 point, and this could be a point or a tool. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be a projectile point or a knife or something. It can be an adze blade, for example. Okay? Example. Now, that might not be a good adze blade, but oh well. Stage 1. When I'm talking about stage 1, no use yet. No use. None. These are perfectly pristine. Another word for it is pristine. No use at all. From here, stage 2, or used. Okay? Now, there's 2 types of used. Discarded after break, and yes, sometimes they discard it after breaking off the tip, and reworked. Now, is reworked stage 3? I don't know. All I know is stage 1 and 2. I don't even know if stage 2 is discussed very often, but this is stage 2. There has to be a stage 2 because we talk about stage 1. Now, stage 1 many times looks a lot different from stage 2, both in terms of blade and base. It could look like an entirely different point type in some cases. Okay. So the way we distinguish these things is that stage 1, it has no use whatsoever. Stage 2 is used, and it's either reworked or discarded after break, or some other flaw, maybe heat damage, as an example. There's other types of accidents that can occur or damage that can occur, like maybe even dulling. It just looks too dull, or it gets too how should I say, unuseful. It's just too broken up. It's got a missing barb on one side, right? A missing ear on the other side, and it's all like wonky. Okay, it can still be hafted, but yeah, we don't want to rework that, and we'll just leave it. Okay, discards. Okay, So this is stage 2. I consider it reworked. Could be stage 3 or more. I don't know. I separate these two in stage 2, usually, in my mind. But technically, it's all the second stage of life. Now, up here, maybe stage 3 is used as some other tool. Okay, but that can happen at any time. It doesn't have to go through the breaking and reworking. It can go straight from stage 1 to stage 3. Some guy comes up with this adze blade or whatever, or his point, and someone says, no, 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 no. I'm going to use this, since you've got such a good needle tip on it, I'm going to use it as a tattooing implement. And over here, it's used as in some other tool. Okay? So, this stage 2 and stage 3 might not be the best. I might not have illustrated this in the best way, but it's at least you can know that it's not stage 1. If I say stage 1, that means it's a point or a tool with no use and pristine. Okay. Over here it gets fuzzy on this side. All right. So hopefully that'll cover most of the questions I get on bifaces and other terms that we use as we're discussing artifacts or as we're discussing different stages of the flint knapping process. Okay, that's it.